interpellation, I'm satisfied with the answer of Yusek Mercado that as to her hunch, as to the reasons which she was asked to resign, and as to the timing of which, given the lunch that happened in the Lint Suites. No? I just have one more question lang po siguro, and then I'm going back now in relation to the envelopes that were labeled Hope. You were being questioned for earlier, Yusek, Mr. Chair, that about your interpretation of what it meant when you were receiving these envelopes. And you mentioned you narrated in your affidavit that the envelopes were handed to me monthly by Assistant Secretary Sunshine Fajarda, Sunshine, which she says came directly from the office of Vice President Sara Duterte. And you mentioned that you quoted, "Galing kay VP," is what she would typically say as she hands the envelopes. What is your appreciation of that statement? Ano po yung ibig sabihin ng galing kay VP?
Meron naman siyang, ang appreciation ko, the VP naman has other resources to share. So, ganun lang kasimplistic yung tingin ko at first. It was only when I move out already that I give it a hard thought.
Of course, I mean, this is just testing to your personal knowledge. We have no idea, we have no clue kung talagang galing kay VP po yun. All that happens is that it is accompanied by that statement by ASEC Sunshine.
Because, siguro kaya mo nalilink doon kasi si ASEC Sunshine yung nagbibigay.
Because she was Heya at the time.
Yeah.
So you would assume from the Heya's closeness, proximity of both personal relation and by office, that she would have no reason to lie as to the source of that fund. Galing kay VP. But you're right, it could be a valid source, could be not. But I noticed during the interpellation of Congresswoman Luis Toro, you really had an apprehension. You said that bribery was too harsh a word. Could you expound on that thought?
I think it's just not in my language to say it's bribery because I have not experienced it.
And I would tend to agree, Mr. Chair, because generally when you speak of bribery, it's when you are offered a gift, offered compensation to entice you to do or not to do something that's within your duty. However, that's just the more general term of bribery. No? But we also have the other. We also have indirect bribery. And that's in the case when a person is offered a gift by not for any act to do or not to do, but by mere virtue of your public office. Would that be closer to what you were feeling at the time? Because there was no conversation. Walang sinabi naman po na itong envelope, gawin mo to, wag mong gawin to. But it was simply by virtue of your position. The envelope says it all. Hope.
Yes.
And more colloquially, kilala ang indirect bribery as payola. Did you have an inclination na ito ay payola?
No.
So you said yes to indirect bribery but no to payola. Would you care to explain?
It's those are words that are not in my vocabulary, so if you excuse me.
Of course, I will not belabor po, and I have a respect for whatever semantics you choose to prove. But I'm just giving the basis on the envelope only saying hope, and there was no gift or compensation to ask of what to do and what not to do. But it was merely by virtue of your position. It would appear that you're receiving this. One last question po on that. Would you know if other employees of DepEd received the same envelope? And would you know ano po yung nakasulat sa mga envelope po nila?
No. I would know of one, but the rest I don't know.
You know of one more. Would you be at liberty to divulge?
No.
Not the identifying marks, but at least yung level, yung position po niya. Was it the USEC level, ASEC level?
ASEC level.
ASEC level. So there would be confirmation of more than just the hope. Would you know kung ano po yung nakasulat sa envelope na yun?
No. No, we don't get to see because we're called one by one.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank the good USEC for this, for her narration of the affidavit here and being forthright. I'd like to just reiterate our hope that the envelopes will be produced as object evidence for us to discuss, and I'll be yielding to other interpellators who might wish to question. Thank you very much, USEC Mercado, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
USEC GLORIA Mercado, narinig ko po na sinabi niya na nakatanggap siya ng sobrang may laman na pera regularly. At I'm actually disturbed kasi kung sinabi ni Yusek Mercado na merong pang isa na nakatanggap at malamang merong pang ibang nakatanggap, I can just imagine if this was done on regular intervals, say monthly, I can just imagine the total amount needed to sustain it over a year. And you know, at 50,000 each, sabihin na lang natin may 20, may 50, tapos merong 12 months, may Christmas pa daw, di ba? Mr. Chair, I can just imagine, and it's quite disturbing, no? For this particular practice, even to use a language that even a small whim of this happening in one of the departments that we hold in high regard, the Department of Education, it's really quite disturbing. But just to give a better picture of how things are at the DepEd, Yusek Lo, you were Yusek for HR, right? Mr. Chair.
Yusek Mercado.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yusek, can you walk us through the process that DepEd followed in the selection of USECs and ASECs? Kasi I remember at that time there was a heightened attention at hiring at the best and the brightest for DepEd. Would you share with us if there was an emphasis on appointing the most qualified and capable individuals? Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, that's why we all started out inspired, and for once we said that meritocracy is alive in the bureaucracy, because we went through a process of applications, being vetted, being in fact background check, and then the final search was a committee that asks specific questions. So if you're applying for a certain position, they will ask you questions around that. So it was, I think there were almost 1,000 or hundreds, I'm not sure, but we were informed that there were so many applicants. It was CES board that made the application, the search, the announcement, and it says if your career and you're smartest and the brightest, you can apply. So we did apply online, and then we received notice for interview, and then after a while we got a notice that you are hired as undersecretary for Bureau of Human Resource and Organizational Development. So that's how the process went.
Mr. Chair, is this same process for the other portfolios?
Yes.
Given your experience in government, Mr. Chair, would you say this was something unusual for a government agency to go through this process compared to the other agencies that you worked before?
Yes, that's why I said we were inspired when we started out. In fact, I recall I even posted in my day saying that meritocracy is alive when we were chosen.
So when this string of resignations happened, Mr. Chair, as HR, have you ever, tried to understand why these resignations were happening? Were these resignations ever addressed or seen as a cause for concern within the department?
It was beyond us, I have to admit, as the HROD and the parang nananayan of the Execom, every time someone is sent out, part of me dies off kasi they're also very close to me and they're young. These people are young. I know it will affect their careers. So even if this group tried to band together, they've been inviting me to join them. I could not because I wasn't able to do anything for them as the HROD.
Mr. Chair, would it be fair to say that even if you're using the word resignations, these resignations were in fact de facto dismissals?
Yeah, because they didn't want to, but they have to because pride na rin siguro that they...
And Mr. Chair, the decision to dismiss them was entirely the Vice President's decision as Secretary of Education.
It was, well, the three, it was Yusek Sulaika of OBP, then one was si Yusek Powa, yung inutusan, and then yung isa si Asek Shine.
So you mentioned Yusek Sulaika Lopez, the Chief of Staff of the Vice President. And at the time when she talked to this outgoing, dismissed undersecretaries and assistant secretaries, she was not part of the Department of Education, correct?
No.
So her role was really as Chief of Staff to the Vice President.
Yes.
Was this something usual for officials of the Office of the Vice President to intervene or to meddle in affairs of the Department of Education? When she was Secretary of Education, Mr. Chair?
I guess that's that's the difficult part of the situation kasi you're OBP and at the same time you're Secretary of Education. But it was unusual on my part to hear after they came back from the OBP that they were asked to resign. In fact, the first one, yung sila Yusek Chris, we were doing a national screening committee.
Ma'am, Yusek, pakilakas po. Medyo hindi
We
ko
were in
narinig.
the screening committee and we had to stop because it's like all of us cried, and fortunately there was one of the members of the screening committee was from CES board, and she advised us that Chris should not be resigned because she's CESO 1. So kung pwede siyang pumunta na lang sa pool. So that's why we advised Chris to get the resignation and instead request for the pool.
Mr. Chair, Yusek, kanina you mentioned a narrative na some officials were being called at a certain hour and were told that they were being asked to resign or dismissed with the same day, I
Yes.
believe. So, paano yun? May dala na silang resignation nung pinatawag sila? Or how was the process done?
I guess they were asked to submit right there and then.
Right there in front of Yusek Sulaika.
I'm not sure if kay Sulaika or sa amin sa DepEd.
But definitely wala silang dalang resignation letter when they were
Wala,
told
because they didn't know that they will have to go.
that they will have to be resigned. So wala ding opportunity, Mr. Chair, Yusek, that exit calls were done for transparency and accountability? Was there even a chance that the former Deputy Secretary, the Vice President, would meet with these officials para pa-thank you lang naman for the services rendered?
No exit calls.
No explanation on the part of the Vice President?
Well, it was not explained to the Execom. So that was a very unhealthy precedence kasi parang after that we all ran scared that we might be the next one.
Paano kung CESO, Yusek, Mr. Chair? Kasi syempre, we have certain rules to follow when it comes to career executive service officers. Was there another process? Was there a due
That's
process?
why they have to resign because their career.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. Kasi ako, right there and then, they will lose their income, their staff will lose all their benefits and salaries, and they were all left in the cold, left in the dark about the circumstances of their termination. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Would you agree, Mr. Chair, Yusek, that these decisions appear to be arbitrary or whimsical or even capricious to say?
I'll choose arbitrary.
Would you know, I believe you've been a human resource practitioner for the longest time. Would you believe that this somehow measures up to an abuse of authority or a lack of respect for government officials, especially those in the career service and for established processes in government service?
Um, maybe it's probably for her it's a decision she has to make, and as to what are the reasons, it's hard to speculate. But it's very inhuman for
I will
the
supply the word, Mr. Chair. It's quite unprofessional. You agree?
yes.
Now,
Or I'd rather use the word
Unprofessional.
inhuman.
Inhuman.
Because you lost your income, di ba? Yung may pamilya ka
Hindi
eh.
lang naman inisip ko may sasaing
Oo.
mamayang gabi, no? Pagka uwi. Mr. Chair, would you know, Yusek Mercado, who replaced the outgoing officials?
For the two in administrative services, it was General Menpin and General Baluyan.
So that confirms the two generals on the invitation list serving as Yusek and ASEC, correct? What specific designations they had again?
They
Madam
were
Chair,
USEC
Mr.
for
Chair.
administrative services and ASEC for administrative services.
You know, we have so much respect for our men in uniform, Mr. Chair, Yusek Mercado, but you think having a general in the Department of Education would be something congruent with the mandate of the agency?
Well, it's a decision that the leadership has opted to take, so we cannot question it.
Now, considering this resignations, replacement of officials, and this, as we say, arbitrary style of dealing with human resource at the Department of Education, how would you characterize the management style of the Vice President when she served as head of your agency?
She has her targets, and I think that's where the disconnect is, because my sense, no, she has her targets, but she's in a different platform because ang orientation niya is local government, while as like policy process takes a longer one, no. Siya has to do it fast. I think she's been going down in the field, so mas nakikita niya yung problema. So she wanted it really, things to go very fast. But the policy process can take a little while. And since these are also human that you have to consider, so you have to explain to her that that's how things work in the policy loop.
Would it be fair to say that she could have been more humane in her dealings with the officials and employees of DepEd?
I think humane is, yeah, but probably it's a context of she thinks that since we're the executive committee, we should, level up to what she expected everyone to do.
The executive committee, Mr. Chair, is composed of the USECs and ASECs.
Undersecretaries and the assistant secretaries.
How often did the executive committee meet with the Secretary of Education in person?
I think we had a face-to-face mga few times, but most of our executive committee meetings are online, and usually she joins, but most of the time it's Yusek POA who.
It's Yusek FOA who will
Yes.
preside. So next level of the USEC ASEC would be the regional directors. How often did the DepEd Secretary then had meetings with regional directors?
I'm not. It's there's a, because there's an execom and there's a mancom. I'm not very sure. Maybe once. Maybe Yusek Rebsi would know because he is the secretariat of the management committee. Yusek Rebsi Escobedo is also here.
So Mr. Chair, Yusek law should be once or twice, or how many? Just estimation.
Maybe quarterly.
Quarterly. So she was DepEd
Quarterly
Secretary for...
with Yusek POA.
With Yusek POA, but with the Secretary of Education herself.
I'm not very sure with the... But when we were there, she was attending Mancom naman, which was monthly when I was there. But I'm not sure after I left.
So when you were serving at DepEd, she was attending or presiding over meetings with the regional director monthly, every month.
For a certain time.
For a certain time. So, do you believe that that kind of leadership that you had in the Department of Education affected the overall stability and the quality of leadership down the line?
Yes.
Do you think that the particular, you mentioned kanina, parang LGU yung perspective, no? That leadership style would be focused more on, I don't want to use the word, but that's the only way to describe it, partisan political interest rather than the welfare of the institution, the personnel, and ultimately the student that DepEd ought to serve. Do you think that's a safe,
I think
fair assumption, Mr. Chair?
when I say LGU, I think it's more of a fast result than because she really goes down to the ground, to the school level.
But
So
that fast result appears to be would require or sometimes result in a disregard for the career professionals in the department. Don't you think, Mr. Chair?
yeah, sometimes.
Last question, ma'am. At least, Mr. Chair, I would know the Vice President is watching us because she just had a press conference and she said that she's denying giving former DepEd Undersecretary Gloria Mercado 50,000 for 9 months. And the Vice President saying that Mercado was let go because she used DepEd to solicit donations from the private sector amounting to 16 million without her knowledge. And she adds that she will provide the media with paper trail to back up her claim, describing Mercado as a disgruntled former DepEd official. I think, ma'am, given your long history and long service to the Republic, 40 long years, I think it's fair
That's
for you
very
to be
sad.
given the opportunity to reply to the Vice President.
I think I don't want to do this, but since siya na yung nagsabi, i-turn over ko na yung envelope. The envelopes where the money was.
Comsec,
So
Paki-
it's 9 envelopes.
kuha po yung envelope.
So it says hope and the amount is there. Kasi ang sakit naman nun, ordinaryo lang akong trabahante tapos inano ka ng Vice President, di ba? It's very painful.
Ma'am, ilang taon na po kayo? I hope you don't mind. Hindi, gusto ko lang pong malaman kasi sabi po ninyo 40 years na po kayo in government.
I'm 65, sir, but
So when you were appointed as USEC noong 2022 ba? 2022? How old were you at
I
that
was 64.
time? 64.
Yeah.
I'm sure sa edad ninyong yan, after pagkatapos nyo pong pag-ingatan yung iyong pangalan for the past 40 years?
Sabutin ko yun. Yes, sir.
So, okay, anyway, thank
Sir,
you.
Mr. Chairman,
I'd like to...
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, dito po ako.
Ay,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair, can I continue first?
Congressman, wait, before I recognize Congressman Paduano, ma'am. Yes.
I believe
With the indulgence of Congressman Asidre, please continue, Congressman.
Mr. Chair, can we allow Yusek Mercado to continue with the response? Because I was trying to ask her about the 16 million that the Vice President mentioned.
Please respond, with respect to the 16 million. 1660.
16.
16 million.
I would like to respond to that because it's a press con. When I was called for by Yusek Solaika, he said, Yusek Mercado, you have to go because one, you have a teacher in your staff. But I explained to them that the teacher was a contract of services when I joined DepEd. And the teacher has a pending application in Cebu because he's from the Visayas. And while he was working with us, he qualified for the RQA. But then when he received his appointment as a teacher, it was already past the opening of the class. It was almost opening, and the teaching load was already apportioned. So I called the RD. I said, can I still keep him? Because he was working on the special hardship allowance, which was a program that BP SARA also wanted to improve because there's a new hardship allowance, and we were just able to reduce the hardship threshold from 0.37 to 0.33. And she wanted the basis for the giving of the hardship allowance, special hardship allowance, revisited. So that's why that guy was the one working on it. So I explained, and I don't feel at all na guilty ako dun sa sinabi niya. The second one is, Sulaika mentioned that I solicited from 2 agencies. So I explained to her that it was a program which our strand developed. There were 2 consultants from UNICEF who developed the app, and then we asked our external partnership office to look for external partners who will be presenting the program, because we developed the concept. It was DepEd Guro. It's her being able to contact the 980,000 teachers. Parang kahit nasan siya, pwede niyang makausap yung mga teachers. The second one was for us to do an electronic mode of the RQA. Parang there's no human intervention anymore. Everyone uploads the credential. Even the computation of the teacher qualification is already on an what do you call this? Wala na siyang human intervention. So that was the program. It wasn't us who choose who would be the partners who will be invited. It was the external partnership. So we made a presentation to almost all the corporations. And then some of the corporations appreciated that it's a very important program. So some of them committed to buy, kasi what we did is we divided the total fund of 16 million into chewable chunks. So if you're interested with this package, ito lang. If you're interested with it, because not everyone naman wanted to pay the 16 million. But there were 2 corporations who were willing to fund, because we wanted to put one in Mindanao, one in Visayas, and one in Luzon. So there were 2 who committed to fund the full package, and those were the 2 corporations that Yusek Sulaika said I solicited. So I explained properly. I did not solicit. There's no money involved there. These are equipments. Walang cash po doon. Equipment siya na ito-turn over sa DepEd. So I feel very sad that up until now, the BP has not been appraised, as I explained it to her people, that we did not solicit. In fact, the two corporations are willing to give an affidavit that I have no solicitation from them of 16 million.
So to reiterate, Mr. Chair, Yusek, first, this was a sanctioned DepEd project.
It's a DepEd project.
Second,
yes.
you did not do the solicitation yourself.
It was managed by the
external
partnership.
partnerships office. Third, no cash donation was ever
So
made.
equipments.
Equipment was given to the department. So none of this, what allegations that the Vice President's making against you is true.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chair. And
Thank-
that
thank-
makes it very sad because she's saying it now. Ibig sabihin, her people did not explain to her.
At least I know she's watching, then she probably be able to get the information from you now. Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Chair.
VP, as we're speaking right now po, merong ongoing House probe. Actually, minutes ago, former Undersecretary Gloria Mercado says you gave her envelopes containing 50,000 each from February to September 2023 when she was with Hope or the Health Orchestrate Positive Learning, a DepEd project. She believes it could be to influence her decision as Hope. Your response po?
Dapat siguro kung mag-akusa siya ng ganyan, dapat may papel siya. Tulad ng ako, pag inaakusahan ako, pag sumasagot ako, binibigay ko yung papel. Gloria Mercado is a disgruntled former employee of the Department of Education. She was let go because of loss of trust and confidence sa Office of the Secretary. Una niyang ginawa, well, hindi ko alam kung anong nauna, pero naka-strike 2 siya sa akin. Ang una niyang ginawa, nag-solicit siya ng 16 million pesos sa isang kumpanya on paper using my name without any authorization from the Department of Education. Bibigay ni JC sa inyo mamaya yung papel. Kalagay dun. Pangalawa, noong nag-school visit ako sa Cebu, merong lumapit sa akin na teacher. Sabi niya sa akin, Inday SARA, masakit sa loob namin na mga teachers kami na nasa field. Tapos merong humahawak ng teacher items na wala dito sa aming probinsya o wala dito sa aming region. So, pinakwento ko siya. Iyon naman yung purpose ng aking mga school visits, diba, sa iba't ibang lugar naman sa. Sabi ko, one-on-one tayo, kwento mo lahat sa akin. And then it turned out, ang HR mismo ng Department of Education, our Undersecretary, took a teacher item from Region 7, nilagay niya sa central office for a non-teaching task. Ginawa niyang executive assistant niya. Ang apelido nun, Villar. Meron niyang paper trail. So, nung bumalik ako sa central office, tinanong ko, totoo ba na meron tayong teacher item galing sa Region 7 na nandito sa atin? Totoo daw, nasa HR. HR pa mismo ang gumawa ng parang injustice sa teachers namin sa field. So on that second point, hindi ko na pinalampas. Sinabihan na siya na there is loss of trust and confidence. And you should go. And then she said na, pwede bang mag-retirement na lang ako instead na paalisin ninyo ako. Kasi ang tagal ko na, matanda na ako. And then sinabihan siya, okay, sige. You go. So she's a disgruntled former DepEd employee. At yan yung dalawa na rason kung bakit siya pinaalis. May papel yung 16 million na solicitation niya. May papel yung teaching position sa Region 7 na kinuha niya. And my experience sa kanya, ayoko, factual lang ako ayoko atakihin yung pagkatao niya. Pero when she was HR of the Department of Education, meron kasi akong time dyan for our USEX and ASEX na hindi execom. So, pinapapunta ko yan sila kung sino man yung merong concern, sino yung may problema, pumunta kayo sa akin, mag one-on-one tayo. So, one of those times na one-on-one kami, siniraan niya yung isang USEC, isang ASEC ng Department of Education. Bago pa lang kami nun. In fact, pag alis ko, 2 years lang kami. Very, very new. Nagulat ako. Kasi HR ka eh. Pag HR ka, hindi dapat ikaw yung mag-cause ng away-away sa loob ng institusyon. Dapat ikaw yung maging peacemaker. But siniraan niya yung isang ASEC and isang USEC sa akin mismo. And nagulat ako. Why attack the ASEC or the USEC sa kanilang pagkatao? Hindi naman trabaho. And then, ganun din ang ginawa niya. Nung umalis na siya sa Department of Education because of the 2 points, lumipat siya sa Senate. One of the offices of the senators, then nandiyan yan siya ngayon. And yung isang kaibigan ko doon sa Senado, narinig namin na sige na siya atake. Inaatake niya si Michael Poa, si Reynold Monsayak, si Gerald Chan. Nang iyan ngayon yung nakapangalan sa kanyang statement. Kaya kami, nung nagbasa siya kanina ng statement, hindi na kami nagulat. Kasi naririnig na namin sa opisina, diyan sa Senate, yung mga pinagsasabi niya after she was let go. I think, hindi lang siguro niya matanggap na kasalanan niya kung bakit siya pinalayas sa Department of Education. Pero hindi din talaga namin matanggap na magsusolicit ka sa isang private company on paper 16 million. And then, kukuha ka ng teacher item sa field, gagawin mong EA sa central office. Hindi pwede yun.
VP, in relation to that, since you brought up yung names po ni Attorney Poa and Attorney Monsaya. So, during the probe earlier, she said that yung reason daw kung bakit daw siya nilet go ng DepEd nyo po was that she disagreed daw with Attorney Monsayak's suggestion that bidders in the DepEd computerization program just discuss it among themselves to avoid failed bidding.
Ngayon ko lang narinig yan. Sa kanya ko lang narinig yan. Pero ako ang nagsasabi, kasi I was the one who fired her out of the Department of Education. Yung dalawang rason na yon, ang rason kung bakit siya pinaalis sa Department of Education. And as I said, may papel yon. Ibibigay namin sa inyo ang papel. Ang HR record ni Villar, nasa Department of Education din. In fact, hanggang ngayon si Villar nasa region. Kasi sinabihan niya yung region bago siya umalis na ilagay yan sa region, wag yan sa teaching position. Pero that person is holding a teaching position.